Joining us now is Delaware Democratic Senator Chris Coons. Senator, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Great to be on with you, Lindsay.
Would like to first start off with your reaction to what you've seen and heard the past 2 days, including the images played for the very first time.
Lindsay, this has been incredibly powerful. Many of us in the Senate didn't realize just how close an angry, violent mob came to harming Vice President Pence, to harming Speaker Pelosi, to attacking each of us individually. And so for us, for our families, for the other folks who are at risk here in the Capitol, the press, our staff, the people who keep us safe here, the Capitol Police, it's been a really challenging couple of days to be reminded just how difficult, just how violent, and just how dangerous the day here was on January 6th.
And as you say, that's what they've really been doing yesterday and today, recounting just how close, for example, Senator Romney was to the mob, just 58 steps. Now, we, of course, couldn't see the faces of the senators in the room, only the presentation. Can you take us inside the room? I mean, were there specific reactions that you noticed from your colleagues that stuck out to you?
Yes, a number of my Republican colleagues seemed shocked and overwhelmed by the evidence as it was being presented to us. Today, we heard in particular some recounting of the impact on our staff. And I remember looking at the front of the Senate chamber and seeing one of the members of the parliamentarian staff crying and the other comforting her. I was particularly moved, and some of my colleagues were as well, by a recounting that someone who's part of the custodial staff, someone who's African American, said how degrading it felt to be put to work cleaning up the mess of these rioting white supremacists, cleaning up blood and feces and slanders that were the wreckage of this riot. So the emotional impact, the toll on those who were here was a key part, but frankly, so too was the testimony against Donald Trump. The evidence was so damning about how he summoned, incited, and then pointed at the Capitol this mob, and how little he did to ensure that we were safe, to send any help, or to check on his own vice president.
You say that you saw it for yourself. We've also heard some Republican colleagues of yours saying what they heard in these arguments moved them. Senator Thune called the presentation very moving. Senator Murkowski called the evidence damning. In your mind, is it possible that you all are able to get to the 17 Republican votes needed to convict?
Lindsay, I find it hard to imagine how anyone who is going to uphold their oath to do impartial justice can listen to this testimony and not conclude that President Trump violated his oath and deserves conviction.
Well, we just spoke with Senator Kramer. He sounded like his mind was made up. He simply said that he didn't feel the evidence was there to convince him that President Trump, former President Trump, had in fact incited the riot. So if it does turn out to be, by the end of the trial, that the votes just aren't there, would you support a censure resolution? There's also been talk of a 9/11-like commission.
I don't want to get there until we've had that vote, but we have to have accountability. We have to send a signal to history, to the American people, to President Trump, that we as a body understand that what happened on January 6th can't happen again. We heard compelling comments from Republican governors, from former members of President Trump's own cabinet, from members of the House and Senate who stood up to President Trump on this incident. The Senate needs to do its job, and if they fail, if Republicans won't vote to convict, then we need to pursue other ways that we can hold him accountable.
And to that point, if Republicans don't vote to convict, do you feel that this makes it a lot more difficult to negotiate with them in the future going forward?
I don't. Frankly, we've got a history of having very difficult moments here. The impeachment trial a year ago, the confirmation hearings of Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Barrett, and within a matter of weeks, finding some way to work together going forward. America's in crisis. We have to respond to the needs of the American people in this pandemic. Joe Biden was elected president on a platform of trying to bring us together. I view it as part of my job here to try and work together, even with people who I cannot understand how they could watch this evidence and fail to convict President Trump.
Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lindsay.